What is up, everybody?
Morning.
What's up,
Greg? You're like a professional at this.
Did you like that?
Live streaming now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Does the music fade out?
I'm fading it right now.
It's going to play in the background the whole
I'm
time.
manually fading it out. What'd you guys think of that? Wow,
Great,
that was
great.
professional.
Mm-hmm. Really
Welcome
enjoyed it.
everybody to the live stream here. Yeah. Hello everybody. Hey Mitch.
Morning. How is everybody?
Great.
I'm doing great. I mean, it's typical guy. I don't know. We always talk about the weather, but it's like ugly here. It's been snowing for 3 days.
Oh,
and
no.
cold. Yeah, it's been nasty in Alberta. Oh wait, Here we go. We have another guy here. Let's see how this is working.
It's pouring.
Can you hear us,
here,
Ben?
but-
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
We finally got this technical. Thanks to Debbie, we got this computer sorted out. Holy crap.
Yes.
They're usually smarter than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, man. I'm telling you,
Thank
that's
God.
one big thing. You know, I should have paid more attention when the tablets were coming out in the congregations. I'd be on it now. Yeah, it's great, guys. Good to see you.
You too.
We also have people coming in. 50 Shades is here.
Oh, right
Barbie's
on.
here. We always love it when she shows up.
What's
When
up,
you come on the
fellas?
show, I know you have your own show, and you
Mitch
know
is the
you got
host.
your own thing, but maybe you could grace us with your presence one of these days. She's
Yeah.
too famous for us.
Well, Ben, I thought Ben was too famous for us. He
Yeah.
was on the critically acclaimed Lloyd Evans
Yeah.
channel once.
I was writing down a list there this morning of all the, different XJW channels and stuff that have been out in the past since I've woken up anyway. And, the page just fills up. It's amazing
Yeah.
how many people have been involved. Some have gone now. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild.
Invite you? You're invited. You haven't we like officially invited her? I don't know. Maybe
People
we
say
did.
that, but then I have to actually invite them. I actually had a couple people reached out to us that wanted to come on, and I'm sorry I want to say I'm sorry to them. We haven't had time to do another There's been so much stuff going on, and we're so busy, and it's like now we feel like we have to do a catch-up stream every time.
Yeah, it's this is not you know how people approach a social media where they you have to put out stuff a certain day of the week every week, and that's how you build followers and yada yada. And it's this whole process. We don't do any of that shit. We just whenever the opportunity arises and we feel like there's something to say, there's always something to say, right? But there's no rhyme or reason to when we put a show out, or it just happens.
And this has
Works
been a wild week, eh?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I
We have so
remember
much
Ron Pimo there. Actually, I read one of your texts when all this was unfolding because I woke up in the morning and I read one of your texts. It was like, holy crap, what did I miss? And I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, my phone had a lot going on that morning.
Yeah, why don't we just start with that? By the way, Witness Underground, welcome.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get back to you too.
Yeah,
I did get your message. Sorry.
Love to do something with you, with anybody in the comments there. Where were you guys? So this was last Friday when this all went down. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
how'd you find out? So you found out, Ben? You found out from Ron?
Yeah, I was just I do it every morning, scroll through Twitter, and he was one of the first messages that came across there, about holy cow, what did I miss? And I was like, what did I miss? It was just like everything was unfolding. It was unbelievable. I was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a joke, because a lot of guys have been posting stuff that you can't really tell anymore. And so at first I was taking it with a grain of salt,
Yeah, somebody sent me a message from Larchwood. That's how and then I'm at work and I build houses, and so all the guys are working around me, and I'm spent an hour on my phone just texting and messaging. That's how I found out.
9/11 event.
It was a little bit, It was a little bit. Ron, how did you find it?
Well, it's all the XJW friends from around the world who are in different time zones ahead of me that just had posts up, Larchwood and others. And so I just started resharing all of those links. But yeah, my first reaction was, what the hell just happened? Because it was shocking. And yeah, tons of messages and group chats going on. So it was pretty wild to wake up to.
Apostate Barbie said she had 300 messages.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Hey, Debbie.
Hi.
I was working. I had to get up early. I had a bit super busy day on Friday. And so I didn't, usually I go on Twitter, at 5 when I get up and have a look at everything. And I didn't, but I was at work and I had my headphones in and my phone was just blowing. It was just nonstop. Ding, 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 ding. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? So finally, when I looked, and actually the first tweet I saw was the same one Ben did, where Mitch was like, what the hell did I miss? I was like, oh, I guess something's happening.
On my X Twitter feed, whatever, I find it's either Mitch or like Ron Pimo or Larchwood. That's where I'm getting most of my info.
Yeah, me too.
The most up to date.
Yeah.
We try.
What's that, Deb?
I just gotta say hi to Apostate Barbie.
Oh, yes.
Man, she's killing it on TikTok, eh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I woke up to all the messages, and somebody started sending around like a summary that somebody wrote up, typed up on their phone of all the different changes. I'm like, what? Like changes fellowshipping, and then the women sisters can wear pants thing was of course one of the biggest things. But yeah, just seeing all these messages, reading about it, and then finally I made my coffee and sat down and just watched the whole thing for myself. So.
Yeah, I actually did too. It's one of the broadcasts or whatever. I downloaded it and just sat there and watched it. I was in disbelief. I had to see it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't. Well, I can only watch those updates in little bits.
Yeah, me too.
I can't do it. It's like a thing. So when I watch a full, I watch it usually from Nash sending me the clip. Nash goes through the pain and the suffering of like watching the whole thing, and then makes it in bite-sized pieces so I can handle it without having some sort of physical reaction. I don't know.
I watched a couple this morning actually, the new mayor and screen recorded them.
I saw Jerome post some screenshots from that, but yeah, I haven't watched them yet. But
yeah.
What was your first reaction to it all, Greg? I mean, besides skipping work.
Yeah, well, no, I did. So this is it's interesting because it seems like now I don't know if I did this. I think I was definitely a part of this, where I put out a video on X. Maybe some of you saw that, and I think that it kind of started a little bit of a division among the XJW community. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but it just seemed to where, I think some people thought that we were like celebrating this as like the witnesses were like turning over a new leaf or something, or, the witnesses were becoming mainstream. And I definitely was somebody that was celebrating it. Right. But I was celebrating it in a way that it's not like these, what is it, 8 governing body members, 9 now? What is it,
9.
8 or 9? 9 guys are like all of a sudden good guys. And, they're awesome. They're terrible. They're pieces of shit. And when you watch the full video of the update with regards to shunning, it just goes to show how horrible these people are. But I did take it as we are having an effect here, and obviously most of what's coming, most of the reasons they're changing this, even though it's only a small change, it's just a small little thing, but the reason is almost embarrassing for them. Actually, it's Norway. Right? It's Norway and what's going on, but behind Norway, like Norway is the tip of the spear for us XJWs. That's how I look at it. I know it might not be exactly, but that's how Norway was the tip of the spear. But behind that is all of us. You know what I mean? All of us that have said, things publicly. We've put out stuff on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter and X and YouTube, and to me, it shows we are having an effect, and this might be a tiny little thing. It's like a tiny little thing, but it shows, it should give us momentum. Like, Jesus, look at this. We are having an effect here. Let's go in for the kill. Let's go in for the kill, folks. Come on.
We're not endorsing that, Greg.
Yeah.
Well, and
Metaphorical.
what I mean by kill is the religion can stay. You know what I mean? It's arrogant of us to think that we're going to destroy the religion. I know there's some comments like that on X, they want, I don't want the religion to end. I want some old lady to keep her group and, people to have this. We're not trying to destroy the religion, and we wouldn't be able to destroy the religion. But we need to get rid of shunning. Shunning needs to end, and CSA policy needs to end, and maybe the blood policy as well, right? And maybe you can, some people have a different list. That's just my list, right? So I see this as, we're kind of winning a little bit of a battle here, and hey, this is motivating me. Anyway,
that's right.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't warned a day.
Over for now.
I think what these guys, what bothers me a lot about what these guys are saying, even with this latest change on the shunning and this fellowshipping, is, everybody except the apostates, those who are trying to subvert our faith. And I thought, well, you can look at all the XJW channels you want, and I haven't seen anybody trying to subvert the faith. Like, nobody cares that Jehovah's Witnesses want to be Jehovah's Witnesses. We're concerned about these main topics, child abuse, the way shunning has wrecked people's lives to the point where some people have taken their lives. We all know what's happened there, and it keeps happening. These are the issues that we have. I don't want to stop Jehovah's Witnesses from being a Jehovah's Witness, but I don't want them running around lying about me and the questions that I legitimately have the right to ask about this organization. Now, it's lied about me since I was a little kid, So, like, I don't know about you guys, like that whole Norway thing, it kind of really affected me as I was watching that. And I saw these poor guys doing so much work there in the court. And like Jan, he said, you have to have real thick skin to be an XJW activist, because the way they talk, the way they lie, it personally affected me myself to the point that I had a little bit of a life crisis here. I had to make some major changes in my life. And I feel that this is an important work that we're doing. All of us are doing a little bit. And like Greg said, I think it's really having an impact, in my opinion.
I think it's that's a great point, Ben, and it reminds me of a comment we got on our TikTok channel yesterday. This guy, I don't know if he's a JW or what, but he always comments on our videos. And he said, "Why don't you guys pick on the Catholics?" Which I find ironic, because I just kind of mentioned in our last video about how I consider winning is when Jehovah's Witnesses are like the Catholics.
Yeah.
In the sense that shunning is doesn't matter. Excommunication is insignificant. You can be a Catholic, you can be kicked out, you can be a non-practicing Catholic. I know lots of them. They don't treat anybody any different, and nobody talks about it. That's why there's no ex-Catholic community in the way there is ex-Mormon, ex-Scientologist, ex-Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what winning looks like to me. Yep. And it's funny that this little step, we all know it was an obvious push from what happened in Norway. They think if they make these small little changes, the courts will be like, oh, they're changing. They can say hello now. And in their crazy minds, they think that's going to be enough to get their funding and their registration back. And I honestly don't think it'll be enough, but you never know. There are strange people that make these decisions sometimes. And along with that, in Numer's talk that's on the website today, he talks about the oppression and the persecution that they're facing right now all over the world. And, of course, it's like they say people are getting killed and everything and thrown in jail over this, which is a bit of hyperbole, I think, in some senses. But he says that these oppressors will eventually have to bow. They're going to have to bow down to them. And it's so ironic because they just made a change a knee-jerk reaction because of what happened in Norway, even though they pretend they didn't. That's exactly what it was, and they covered it all up with a pants party, and men don't have to wear ties and suits, and so Jehovah's Witnesses don't really see what's going on. They're kind of like, "Woo, let's go shopping," and they just kind of are like, "Oh, this shunning thing's cool, but I can have pants." So
It's actually slacks. Slacks. What are slacks?
Women know.
I always hated that word.
I've heard
Can
that a
men
lot
wear
lately.
slacks? I mean, is that a like? Isn't dress pants slacks too?
That is.
For men?
That's what
Yeah.
it is.
So
I mean-
slacks is gender neutral here.
We can all wear slacks.
I think this whole thing myself, like I don't see how this isn't going to backfire myself. How it's got to wake more and more people up. I mean, even the way the guy talks, like who talks like that? Like we're allowing you to do this, and
Yeah.
we've decided you can do that.
Governing body has decided. Yeah.
I mean, I'm listening
Five-
to that. and
five
I was
best
just
words, eh?
thinking, it's just so bizarre the way their language has been getting lately. Like we've only been out 5 years, and it's completely whacked out since we left. There's no way I would join this religion, at any point. So now, so.
So that makes me think of something. Like, what do you guys think about? I think of my dad and that generation. Right, he's in his 70s. Came into the Witnesses in the 70s, early 70s, and like we went through. Like this is a massive amount of changes we've seen in a real short time. Like is it just sunk cost? That keeps them in, that they just have so much invested that they're just like, we'll just wait on Jehovah. I just can't believe that this doesn't hit them a little bit
Wow.
and make them think, man, something's like, it's just weird. This is weird.
You see, this
think
is
it
where I
will.
think the whole shunning policy again is so unfair, not just to us, but even even you think about the people that are still in there. I mean, none of this is necessary. If the Watchtower would just come out and say, okay, look, we're ending shunning. It's a conscience matter. You can talk, no apostates, all that kind of stuff. All our old parents and in-laws and stuff like that, they could just live out their life with their beliefs and still try to have a normal relationship with their family and stuff. I mean, or friends. I mean, but it's kind of unfair to them. I mean, like Debbie's parents, how are they ever going to wake up to this? And if they do, it's kind of cruel almost, So the whole thing is it's just emotionally and toxic to everybody involved. That's what I feel. The shunning thing has got to go, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
Amen.
I agree.
Well, you go, Ron.
I had a thought that what's crazy. Larchwood is the one who's really pointed this out for me online. Is this isn't new light? This is old light coming back. They have already posted articles from like 1974 or 1977 where it talks about how you can talk to your family, you can say a greeting to a disfellowship person, just not apostates. It's all just recycled.
Yeah.
But if it used to be that way and then it got firmer, like a harsher shunning, why is it now okay to just go back? And like Jehovah's Witnesses don't think about, was it new light then or is it new light now? How they don't see it, I don't know. And what's funny too is, probably those 1970s articles were written by the chief apostate, Ray Franz. I could almost bet you that some of them were, or at least influenced by him in that group that were a little kinder back then. And now they're just shifting things back to what this apostate used to say, how shunning, should have been in the congregation. So it is frustrating. It's maddening. I feel over this past week, I have felt a lot for, people in these group chats or like Facebook groups, and you see people who've not had contact with their family for 10 years, 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden they're getting flooded with these messages about, we can talk to you now. And it's not really, shunning hasn't ended. It's, we can say hi to you if you're at a meeting. We can invite you to a meeting. And so that's, the behavior that they've now gotten permission to have with these people they've shunned for a decade is, come to our memorial. Things have changed. It's all great. You can wear pants now too. And how, like you said, toxic and just damaging that is for people who have finally moved on with their life, to have all of these friends and family from their previous life come in and say, hey, we're great. We want to have you there. when nothing's really changed. And I just feel for a lot of people who are struggling this past week with those feelings, because it's legitimate. I mean, some people are like, it's stuff that they went through a long time ago and probably had therapy and were suicidal, and now it's just bringing all this flood of emotion back because these people have reached out to them. And I think that's pretty harmful. And and of course the way Watchtower will never apologize for the harm that they have caused over the decades. I mean, I wrote down, I was thinking today, what about all the missed weddings that people weren't invited to from their family?
I have a few.
What about the baby showers and the funerals, the big important things that you're supposed to be with your family for? And they took that from people. And now Jehovah's Witnesses want to say, oh, look how loving we all are. No, it doesn't work like that.
And the timing isn't insignificant. A week before the memorial, they want some numbers to trot out and say, look at how many people came to the memorial, and I mean, also this is because of court decisions, but that's what they're doing. They want to flood all this disfellowship family, because those are the people that always come to the. We all knew people that just came to the memorial, been disfellowship for 10, 20 years, and they would show up at the memorial. And that goes on their numbers, and they tout those numbers out like, isn't this amazing? Look at our amazing memorial numbers. And and a lot of times it's people that just hate themselves and go to the memorial out of fear and guilt, because they think, maybe if I go to this one meeting, Jehovah won't kill me when this is over. And I remember thinking that when I was first disfellowshipped. Second time I was disfellowshipped, though, the next meeting was the memorial, the next memorial, after I was disfellowshipped the second time, I didn't go. And I remember I had those thoughts at first, and then once I hadn't gone, it just had no meaning to me.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I think about that a lot, like how you think about kind of the world, or the way you think when you're a witness. And if witnesses, and I think of my family, if they could only see what the organization looks like from the outside, if they could only just spend a month or two outside the organization kind of mentally, and then look in, you would see that all this stuff has no power anymore, right? Like, if there's any witnesses that see this, I never ever sit in my bed at night and worry that the JWs are actually right. It doesn't even cross my mind. It hasn't for years. This is not even a thought. And I think for witnesses, that's what they think. They think, oh yeah, you know what? I bet you when he's alone at night, he's worried. He's worried that we were right and that Jehovah or Jesus is going to come and kill him in Armageddon. No, I never, ever, ever. It's about, I give that as about as much thought as worrying about Odin and Thor coming after me in the, what's their big fight called? I don't know.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. I know that they're not coming after, but it's like that. That's about how much I worry about whether JWs are correct or not. But you asked the question, Nash, about how do witnesses look at these changes, and you know what? I think it really goes back to like the difference between us and them, like the people that have woken up and the people that haven't. And it's I think it's really like a psychological thing. I don't really know why. I can't explain it. To me, it's a mystery. Why do we see this stuff and they don't? You know what I mean? Like, it would be I just don't. I don't understand how they can't and we do. For me, it's like you see all these changes and it's like, why can't you see this is just a man-made and led organization? But really, look at the generations overlapping doctrine. How ridiculous that is. Yeah. How it's obvious you're just making shit up now so that you can wait longer for Armageddon. This is painfully obvious, and nobody sees that.
Yeah, you make a good point on that one. 'Cause I know when we were still waking up there, Greg, like, this whole thing with the generations was kind of unwinding, And I was doing all kinds of mental gymnastics to try and make this work. Because I'm the kind of guy, I was a couple of months ahead of everyone else. I was pre-studying everything. And then we finally have this meeting where they play that, video clip with Splain there with the chart and the whole bit. So I had already watched this thing like 4 or 5 times, and half these brothers and sisters, like I said, this was the first time they had watched it. And I got a guy that's a really smart brother after, and he says to me, this could go on for another 30 years. And I remember just looking at him saying, well, I'll tell you right now, I won't be around.
Yeah.
Into my mouth, I'm still totally mentally in.
Yeah.
It came out of my mouth. It was like, well, I'm not going to be around. I kind of
You said that?
Yeah, but I think I was kind of meaning, well, maybe I'll probably be dead in 30 years. Like I thought we were all going to be in paradise. I was like, and nothing seemed to make sense. It was starting to unravel.
Yeah.
Everybody was coming away from that meeting with their own weird perspective on what it meant, because it was such a weird thing to comprehend. Now today, I don't even think they give it any thought. Like generations, what's that?
But you know what? I want to qualify what I said. I don't mean it to be condescending. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I know it kind of comes across like that, but truthfully, honestly, I don't actually know what the difference is between those of us that have woken up and those that haven't. And I don't look down upon my family because they're still in this thing, I question it, right? But there is that sunk cost thing, right? That sunk cost, like Nashon said. And so, sunk cost is, I've spent 30 years in this religion. I can't give up now type thing, right? And, maybe that's it, And, I don't know, but
I know, along with that, Greg, like I think back when I was in, we didn't experience the changes they are now. But think about the changes that we did experience. So when did they change? When did they drop the book study? Almost 20 years ago, I think. Anyway, they went to 2.
I still had the book study
maybe,
when I was there.
Yeah, somewhere between 15, 20 years ago, probably. They dropped a meeting a week. They dropped auxiliary pioneer hours. 3 times? Regular pioneers 4 times. Like all those hours changed. All those requirements changed. Now they dropped field service time altogether, unless you're a pioneer. Now they dropped that you don't have to look different than the world. That was when we went to school. Our whole life growing up, we had to be different than the world. The world had to see us. We were a witness for Jehovah all the time. Like it is constant, just getting less and less and less. And as long as you stay faithful, we'll make it easier for you to stay in. And it's obvious that this is just, we see our numbers dropping. What can we do to just calm this bleeding a bit, to stop it as much as we can?
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for the last 20 years, because in the 90s, they had their heyday where there was big growth in the early 90s, 80s, 90s. And they'll never see that again. That'll never happen.
Remember when, do you guys remember, and Mitch, you're younger than us, but you probably still remember, when things are expanding and they're splitting kingdom halls. Remember they used to split, we got too many people here now. We got to split a hall. We got to build a hall here. We got to build a hall there. And you can't find a seat at the meeting. It's just packed. And you know what I mean? Do you remember that? How different is it now? Hey? It's like crickets.
Yeah,
it is. Jenny and Apostate Barbie in the chat, JW Broadcasting had a big impact for sure. Dropping the book study arrangement that took a lot of fun out of it. Honestly, I feel like some people were relieved to have one less meeting, but it was the best one because you got to be in a closer community, have goodie night afterwards, and hang around. And
I used to have it at my house.
Yeah. For those people, it can be stressful because you got to keep your house clean and all that stuff. But
hey, Jenny. Hey, Jake. By the way, saying hi to everybody.
It definitely changed the feeling, the community. So yeah, I don't know.
I remember
Go ahead.
No, just for ourselves. I remember it seemed like about 10, 12 years ago, the mood started changing. I don't know, there's a lot of things that were happening there, and the congregations really started changing. But it just felt like the fun went out of everything. The growth stopped. Congregations were shrinking. They didn't want you to have a potluck anymore. They started having this universal cleaning system come in where all the congregations were going to have the same colored washcloths and same this.
They did?
That. Oh yeah, like they had brothers come around, give talks, and like basically every Kingdom Hall was going to have the same colored cleaning cloth. So it was like robotic, right? It was like weird changes. And you remember you used to be able to go to the Kingdom Hall, everybody get a potluck going, and everybody, it was like a cleanup day, a great day. The brother came up to, no, you can't do that anymore. We're here to clean, no pot. It's just like cold. It started to get
corporate,
really
so corporate rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my favorite part of being a Jehovah's Witness, because I've thought about that, my favorite part was working in the regional building committee. And I know Ben was definitely in there, and I don't know, did you ever do it, Greg and Mitch? But anyway,
not much, no.
I loved it. We went to all the hall builds. We traveled all over. We traveled Yellowknife. We did all of that.
This is my favorite thing.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. That was the only time I felt like I was actually doing volunteer work. And even though all it did was line the pockets of Watchtower, in my mind, I felt like I'm doing something. I can see something for what I'm doing, not like preaching. Yeah.
I didn't wake up from it, but I feel like the LDC, like changing from the RBC to the LDC, just it started to wake me up, but I didn't.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's along with you and Ben both, like very corporate, right? It changed everything.
Yeah, and so like you're talking on the LDC. So when that change came in, that was a big thing too, because you had to be exemplary, and they were cutting. So a lot of guys. I had been in trouble a couple times, so. I wasn't being used for a lot of this stuff anymore, and the halls were far and few between that were being built. Not like when we were first doing it in Nash, but it became really cold and corporate and
homogenized,
it used to feel like you were building a house of worship for a community of your friends. And it's like a barn raising, everybody got together.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my core first memories I remember as a kid, I was 4 years old, was at our Kingdom Hall build in my town, when it was a huge event. And I was 4 years old and I was there. That doesn't happen anymore for sure. But the LDC came in, and you see I had friends in different congregations or in-laws where they had been saving for decades, basically, to build a new Kingdom Hall because they desperately needed it. They had property sitting down, prime real estate on a popular road, that was just going to grow. And LDC came in and halted all of their plans and said, oh, okay, no, we're selling this hall over here. You guys have to remodel your piece of crap hall, and we're taking your property and selling it. And it's just, it was these detached corporate people making these decisions with local money and property and all the stuff people worked hard for. And it wasn't until I woke up that I realized, they also stole everybody's property in Kingdom Halls. All of the stuff that was donated and built by volunteers, they just took it all, and they get to do whatever they want with it now. And so when LDC came around, I signed up. I filled out the forms to be on it. But they also changed it where you couldn't work on the weekends. You had to come work during the week. So you got to take a double loss of taking time off from work to go build these. And all the fun got sucked out of it, and I didn't want to do it anymore. That was just another baby step on the way to work.
Ron,
the food alone was worth going.
Do you remember, Ron, this, because you seem like you got some experience with the LDC there. Like, do you remember when this kind of Kingdom Hall cleanup mandatory regs and cleaning stuff happened? Remember we had elders, and they were coming around. They talked to the whole congregation about how the new program was going to work. And they had us going up in the attic. That was the big thing. I wasn't awake yet, but it was just slowly starting to. And the brother says, hey, Ben, can you go down to the hall, and we need you to do an attic inspection. So it's like, what do you mean? So me and another brother actually had to go to the hall and physically go up through the attic, looking around. And I remember I was right up on top of the elders' room there, and I think, man, if I could go back, I'd put a microphone down there. But it was just so bizarre. I was saying to the brother, I was like, really, like, what's the point of this? Like, and he was adamant, no, you've got to go with two brothers. One's got to hold the ladder. You got to go up there and do this and that.
They have procedures and
gross.
In reality,
I do remember when it changed because because our Kingdom Hall in my town was the last one in our region to be remodeled under the RBC. It was the very last one. That was 2014. And then 2014, 2015 is when they really changed to the LDC. And from there on, they also implemented the Kingdom Hall maintenance program, which was overseen by the LDC, where they had bunches of different task cards you had to get set up and give to people. It had specific safety instructions for every task. Yeah. And people would come in from other towns and train you on how to do it. And it really became like a corporate property management maintenance routine.
Oh,
and,
my goodness.
And these LDC guys who we're really good friends with, it's I view them now as you guys don't even realize you are regional property inspectors for a
property project managers.
Yeah.
It's just like McDonald's. People think McDonald's is about selling food, but really, it's a big real estate organization.
Can I tell a funny RBC story since we're on it? And I don't know if we'll ever talk about it again. Well, I don't know if you were around, Greg, when we renovated the hall in Grand Prairie. Were you?
Maybe. That whole time is a bit fuzzy.
Okay. Well, anyway, Grand Prairie had a Kingdom Hall.
Seems like a different person. Literally, it seems like somebody else's life.
It was another life.
I don't know if you XJWs feel that way too. It feels like it was another person. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So when I moved there, 2 congregations shared the same Kingdom Hall, and then it split into 3 and then 4, all using the same Kingdom Hall. So we decided to renovate that hall, but I guess the elders. There was lots of brothers in that hall that had good money, big businesses. Grand Prairie was a booming place then. And so they decided they were going to do it themselves. They told the RBC they were doing a paint job, and they weren't doing a paint job. They they redid this thing, huge money, fence, re-stuccoed, all fancy inside, new tile floor, new everything. They did the whole thing. Well, they ran out of money a third of the way in. It was supposed to take 1 weekend. We were 6 weeks into this thing. We couldn't use the hall for weeks. And then they had to give a talk asking for money. So they gave a talk asking for money. Then the RBC got wind of it, and they all got in trouble. And then Watchtower, RBC ended up coming in and paying, giving us a loan to finish it. The whole thing was a shit show because it wasn't ran by the RBC either. It was just by these different brothers. So Daryl, I guess we don't use names, but anyway, there was a guy who ran the stucco crew. He was the elder, hilarious guy. Greg knows who he is. And one day, my brother Jared, his brother-in-law was there, also stuccoers, brought his whole crew up from Medicine Hat to help stucco. Sorry. And one of the young guys was looking at, there was another elder who didn't know anything about construction. He was stuccoing. They just gave him some trowels and sent him over, and he was just stuck on the front wall, making a big mess. And one of the young guys on this crew he looked over and he's like, "Oh man, that looks like shit." Well, then this starts getting around that this guy said this. And so the next morning, we all have to have a meeting. All the stuccoers got to be there at 7 a.m. We're going to have a meeting. This elder brother is going to talk to us about it. And so those guys didn't, my brother Jared, he didn't even show up. He was like, "Forget this." And so I showed up, and these other guys did. And the guy running the meeting, he's like, "Guys, sometimes when we're working and our mud starts getting really thick, we don't want to be like, 'Oh shit.'" And everybody, that's not even what happened. This is that has nothing to do with anything. And I remember just looking at all the guys around, because most of them didn't even know anything happened other than the guy that said it and his boss. And so everybody was just wondering, what is happening? Why is this elder saying shit about you? And he was all happy with himself and smiling and left. And man, what a disaster! That
wouldn't happen now.
No,
probably when the building committee gives morning talks to everybody, it's scripted. There's a script that's been sent. Okay, everybody. Yeah. Okay, listen.
So one of the I was just gonna kind of steer it back to the recent changes, but
Me too.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah.
With LDC, we saw then the shift of, congregations merging instead of splitting and building their own. They're merging a bunch of congregations in cities and selling kingdom halls left and right. And that, started waking people up. but people have to justify it in their own head. And I've literally heard PMEJWs talk about merging kingdom halls and selling them as because the organization's growing so fast. It's like they have to make it make sense. And so with this past week, I think we've all seen like some screenshots and stuff from PMEJWs on social media and how they're justifying these changes that were announced last week. And it's mind-blowing.
And what about
mental
these,
gymnastics they're doing?
Was it you that put out the post about how some sisters are like, well, no, we have to wear slacks now. We have to wear pants. You know, it's
It was post on Reddit. Yeah.
like no skirts anymore. It has to be pants.
Because I follow the governing body. But even the gymnastics of, oh, well, this makes sense because the Great Tribulation's coming so fast that we need to be able to run, or we need to we need to be able to blend in, which is totally opposite from what we were trained
and
as
the
we were going to be
body
stand
never
out.
even said that. It's
No,
just
they didn't.
people trying to justify them. You know,
And I think that's a sign of like a cognitive dissonance or something.
Maybe.
Something where you're taught your whole life or however long you've been a JW that the end is imminent, it's coming so quickly. But these changes are happening that how do these make sense? Like things are getting dumbed down, less meetings, it's easier now to be a JW. Like how does that square with the end is so close? And so you're seeing these crazy theories about what it means. So that's what I think. Anyway,
It's going to get crazier, I think. See.
yeah.
well, here. Okay, I wanted to ask you guys something, and when Nash gets back, he'll probably. So, you, Mitch, Ron, you put out. Was it the announcements, or Larchwood put out the announcements? Where there is a letter that's going to the elders, okay, about these shunning changes, okay. So, what else? What do you think is in that letter? Is there? I think there is. So there's also changes with regards to minors, right? So
Yes.
like, is there any like so? I guess a minor doesn't get disfellowship now. It is more. What was that again?
Yeah. So there's a section. It's an 8-page document, a 5-page document. Sorry. That is entitled Adjustments to Handling Serious Wrongdoing in the Congregation. You can find it on Reddit. You can find it on my Twitter.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So this 5-page document, and it has a section there, what if a baptized minor under 18 years of age becomes involved in serious wrongdoing? And basically, 2 elders, not a committee, it says in the document, will meet with his Christian parents or legal guardians, and they will exercise patience as they work with the parents to understand the minor's attitude. They will also find out what steps the parents have taken to assist the child. If the minor has a good attitude and the parents have the matter in hand, the 2 elders may determine that it's not necessary for the minor and his Christian parents or legal guardians to meet with a committee. The elders will check with the parents periodically to ensure that a minor is receiving needed spiritual assistance. And then it's like if the minor's wrongdoing is widely known, they'll make a following announcement that a matter involving this kid has been handled by the elders. So it's like, yeah, we all know, but you can stop gossiping about it. We handled it. If the minor persists in the wrong course, despite the assistance offered by the elders and his parents, then he would meet with the committee. So this you do have to give credit. Not for, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this. It is a good change. It's a harm reduction change where I do think less minors will face disfellowshipping. As long as they can just put on a face of I'm sorry, or if they really are sorry, for smoking that joint with their friends out back, there'll be less disfellowshipping of kids, teenagers. So that's good. I still don't give the governing body credit for doing the right thing. It's from pressure from outside, but
Isn't it kind of? It's like it's just embarrassing for them. Like it's obvious that this has become from Norway, right? It's like those of
this
us.
part definitely
like,
does.
Yeah, like it's so painfully obvious that and what did they say? Oh, we're never going to change our We're never going to change our disfellowshipping. Sure enough, this Norway thing comes out. They lost. Now, I guess they can still take it to the European Supreme Court or Court of Human Rights. But now they're starting to change, and specifically with regards to children. So it's just, you would think people would see that, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know if witnesses, when they hear about the Norway case, I don't know if probably a lot of witnesses worry that this is somehow apostate information or something, you know what I mean? And so they don't want to get too involved in what's going on in Norway, because they might be exposed to some apostate thoughts and so maybe that's why they're not maybe putting two and two together. I don't know, maybe people are putting two and two together, that Norway,
well, certainly in Norway they probably are.
yeah, and the Netherlands.
Norway, they have to be seeing this in Norway. Like, if
they noticed. Yeah, for sure they are. But even the media in that are. I mean, remember when Tony Morris gave his talk about Norway right after, when he said they'd never change? The media picked up on that right away. It's not like they're turning a blind eye to what the JWs are doing. So I'm sure they've seen this too, and they know the correlation. Yeah,
and you know what? Can we talk about this for 2 seconds? What 50 Shades says here about Tony? I mean, like, it's Tony. Like, listen, he must have known this stuff was happening. Hey, it was coming, and he's probably upset about it. Hey, and this is probably why. I mean, the drinking thing, we know about the drinking thing, but that happened like 2 years before he was removed. Okay,
a few years.
Must be there must have been an.
He wouldn't get removed for drinking either. Like, that's honestly. No. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses drink, and I mean elder Jehovah's Witnesses and like, they drink a lot. Yeah, and they cover it up for each other. I don't think that's a huge. I don't think that was it. I think he disagreed with the rest of the governing body, and he didn't like these changes.
There was an internal fight there. Tony didn't like it. He was booted out. Man, could have been. We could have been a fly on the wall during those times. Hey.
In my opinion too, like, this is going to be a thing that's going to happen because, from my experience, Jehovah's Witnesses are the most divisive. They're divided. They talk about each other. That's the most gossip-filled place I've ever been in my life as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, looking back at it, so I just don't see how all these changes aren't going to create even more divisive issues. And like Greg, you make a good point. You got old Tony sitting there in his nice bungalow there thinking about all this stuff. Like, what's going through his mind? What's going through some of these other governing body helpers with all this stuff? Like, I just can't wait for a couple more of these top guys to crack and just say, hey, can you imagine they wake up and go, look, I got all this dirt on you guys, and you know what? I'm going to spill the beans. I mean, that's
it. Might happen. Hey, we might have another Ray Franz one of these days. And Nash is sitting there thinking, he's sitting there thinking about it, dreaming about it. Oh, that would be just so wonderful.
So the thing I think about with Anthony Morris, because I do think it's pretty clear now. Of course, this is all speculation still, but it makes a lot more sense that he was opposed to these changes and they had disagreements, and whether he resigned or was kicked out, it seems like he was kicked out. It's over doctrinal direction of the organization. And, that issue had to have been, Norway has definitely played a role in this, but it's not the only thing, obviously. These changes have been rolling down the way for a while. And he was probably opposed to it. Think about how many witnesses that are like Anthony Morris. I do think there are going to be a population of Jehovah's Witnesses who are those old-timer hardliners who are going to be disturbed by all of this. Okay, within 6 months, we no longer count time. Anyone can join us during the Great Tribulation. Men can wear beards with no explanation of why we didn't before. And, all these other changes that happened just this month. And it's like, it's coming so rapidly that it's going to make people think, what the hell is going on with this religion that I was raised in, or I raised my kids in, or my grandparents were in? There are going to be those hardliners who, like, one change too many is going to be enough for them to say, this is wrong. What's going on here? So.
Yeah, all of us can think of those hardliners. Hey,
Yeah.
I had one, man. I had one.
They're in my family.
I think about your brother, Greg.
Well, no, I don't think of my brother as a hardliner. Like, he's not like a stickler guy. Do you like? I know he was he DF'd
like
you.
your brother. Like, if you got a second, I'll tell you, because with your brother, it was kind of wild, because when I first moved up to the Chetwynd area there, we get to know people, and your brother would come and give talks once in a while, and we'd hear him at the conventions, And I always liked your brother's talks. He was the way he gave them, I even went and talked to him a few times. So happy, all blah blah blah. But I remember him coming to the hall in Chetwynd there one time. It was right after an entire family had left, like the wife, the kids, they all
really,
and they caused a lot of problems. And anyway, he comes there at the hall, and he has to give this, kind of special talk to us. And he was so passionate about, do you want to be in charge, or do you want to obey the governing body? And he was going on. And I was just starting to slowly clue in at that point. But I remember him giving that talk. And like I said, he was listed on my judicial committee there, your brother. So, of course, I never went to that judicial committee, but it's surprising that they brought him in from Dawson Creek up to Chetwynd to deal with that.
Well, it's interesting. Like, these hardliner types, I don't look at him as a Tony Morris type, though. You know what I mean? I don't know. You might disagree with that, but we had all these, like, usually older men that were just freaking hardcore,
arrogant,
arrogant, and
So remember Tony's? I mean, Greg. We both talked about this. Remember Tony's talk where he was going on about was it in 1975, and he acted like he was smarter than everybody, and he never believed that it was coming in 1975, and all these other idiots did. And that's the kind of guys where they're never wrong. They always knew what was going on. It's always and it's fire and brimstone.
Yeah. The minute you start mentioning his talks and some of the things that he said, it's just like, oh man, that guy. Oh, that guy.
He is a giant.
But look at him now. You know what I mean? What does he think of the governing body now? You know what I mean? What's going through Tony's mind now? Look, Jake thinks he's more of a Russell than a Ray Franzen tone. So would Tony Morris, is he like a, you can see, you have these in the Catholic Church, through the history of the Catholic Church, you had these like reformations and times where it kind of split off, right? And people, even nowadays, you have people like Mel Gibson, who he follows like the old way of the Catholic Church, right? And then there's like the new Catholic Church. You can see that if the JW survived for a long time, it would be like, okay, I'm going to join the old JW group, not the new modern progressive one. You know what I mean? You can see that eventually happening one day, right? I mean, I hope it doesn't, but I hope that they're a thing of the past, right? But haven't had a good schism since Rutherford.
Right. There are these little groups.
Schism.
These are these little groups that are gaining traction for sure. It's strange to see.
Like, I know it's winter time here now, guys, and that, but have you in your area, have you seen many Jehovah's Witnesses out on the carts lately, like in the last couple of months? Like, I haven't seen them a lot.
I see them when I go to Edmonton. They're always by the mall. They're always by West Edmonton Mall. And it was funny, I was there the day after the announcement on the ties and pants.
Oh, you were?
And, yeah, and I was with my daughters, actually, and we were walking across, and they were right there, and I was like, oh, look at that. No ties. Man, they listen good. And my daughter just kind of looked at me like, you're stupid.
Yeah, good.
Already just instantaneously changed, hey?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we kind of touched on this before, like, but holy shit, how much this group has changed since we left, hey? Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, it's not, as far as the main shunning, CSA, blood policies, not much has changed. But the other stuff, it's like, wow, it's like incredible. And they just, this governing body, they just say it, and instantly everything changes.
Yeah.
Like
those 5 words.
Like, this is an authoritarian group here. These guys are dictators, and they just say something, and instantaneously it changes. It's freaking incredible.
And they keep
power that they
keep
have.
slipping in to their broadcasts and their talks. They keep slipping in faithfulness to, they'll have Jehovah and the governing body. They'll have to the anointed, to the remnant, to the faithful slave.
Jehovah's organization.
Like over these last years, they just constantly, they just sprinkle it in. Because in Jehovah's Witness brains, the two are interchangeable. Jehovah, governing body, same. And in reality, the governing body holds higher weight, and we've seen that in these ridiculous like fights online between JWs where they're like, well, I'm going to wear a skirt, or I would never wear a skirt now because the governing body told me not to. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, you can't go to the Bible and start reasoning on it yourself. You can't be like, well, I don't think this really matters because the Bible says this. Your job is to do what the governing body says the Bible says. So you're in worse shape if you're looking at the Bible for answers than if you're looking at the governing body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. The Catholic Church did the same thing. I mean, we're using this analogy here, but eventually what happened is the Catholic Church if the church says something, it's just as carries just as much weight as if it's in the Bible. You know that, if you're a Catholic, if the church says something, it's just like it's in the Bible. It's the same thing, right? So that's why they can have some sort of conflict with the Bible. But really, it's like, okay, if the church said it, that's just as important. And you can see the governing body going down that same road. I wonder if it's just a type of evolution of a religion that is just natural. It's just a natural path that a religion takes. If it exists for a certain period of time, you have the document that the religion's based on, which is the Bible in this case, and then you have the leadership, and eventually those two carry the same weight. It's interesting that the governing body is going down that same road.
Yeah. So people in the chat, some of them are trying to bait me because we're in a different group chat together. But
listen, I'm sorry for people in these comments. There's just there's so many things to talk about that we can't address all of it. But anyway, go ahead, Mitch.
And some of them are just designed to make me laugh on screen. But speculation. One of the things that some people who claim to be at World Headquarters, PMOs, at Bethel, have been saying is that the governing body will, as a way to protect themselves, distance themselves from being an authoritarian. They're just doctrinal guides, they don't rule the religion, and they might actually change the faithful and the discreet slave understanding again in order to insulate themselves legally. But man, that would be a radical shift because it's all about the governing body these days. The governing body, like they said in the chat, in the name, in Jesus and the faithful and discreet slave's name, amen, or governing body, amen.
Yeah.
It's almost to that level.
Well, somebody in the chat said that they didn't even know who the governing body was. And maybe it was Barbie, maybe it was somebody else said they didn't even know who the governing body was until they started doing updates. Right? I remember, Remember, Ben, when they first came out with the Proclaimers book and they had the picture of all the governing body in there? Was it the Proclaimers book that had that? And we're like, holy, there they are. That's all of them. And you look at the picture of these guys, you know what I mean?
They must be so discreet.
Yeah.
Fast forward 10 years.
Yeah.
Roasted hot dogs.
Their stars.
If one of them ever came to an assembly, it was like, holy cow, we actually get to see what they look like? Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave so many talks out of that Proclaimer book, and it was like, now that I've woken up and done some research on that book and watched the different videos on it, you just realize, even that, the thing's this thick. We gave all these talks out of it, and it's just basically a cherry glossed over version of the truth. It's really is bizarre.
Yeah, they just skip this, skip that.
Yeah,
we'll just talk about this, talk about that. We'll just skip this and we won't talk about that.
To Jehovah's Witnesses, it's reality, but when you step back and look at the truth of it, you realize, and that's one thing, honestly, that really bugs me, is that the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's our history. It's what screwed our parents up, sometimes our grandparents, and yet these guys are hiding our history, twisting it around. To me, I find it offensive. I would be
Yeah.
much grateful. I would be happy if the Jehovah's Witnesses just came out and said, you know, this is the truth. This is what we did. We shun. Just tell it the way it is, and I back. You know, go ahead. But the way they lie and twist everything around, to me, it's unfair that this history is being hidden. You know, this was a movement that happened, and it's just not true. And unfortunately, in the last 30 years, it was not more. It's hurt so many people, killed them mentally, you name it. And it's keeping on going. You think about all these kids that are still being raised in this religion. They're on XJW Reddit. How many times we get on there, we read these kids' stories. They're stuck in there. This isn't the way to live a childhood. The only thing that's good about it is they're waking up young, right? They got a whole life ahead of them. That's a great thing. They're waking up young. But to me, wouldn't it be better if they could just go to their parents and say, you know what, guys, I love you, but this got some questions here. I want to take some time. Well, no problem, son. Let's work together through it. I mean, wouldn't that be better? Instead of all this secrecy, the kid doesn't even know if he can trust his own parents.
When the damage is done, there's already damage done. It doesn't matter. It's great. I love that they're waking up and getting out early and young, but they will never have a normal relationship with their parents as long as their parents stay witnesses. And they'll always have some lingering effects, because that indoctrination is so strong from the time you're little that it'll go with you for life. And you see all these people that have left when they were like 16, 17, 18 even, they still have lingering effects, whether it's social issues or trouble with relationships or trouble with self-confidence or being fearful. Like there are a ton of things, and people will just kind of balk at that like it's not a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, we talk about mental health all the time nowadays with our kids, and this cult, it causes so many problems for kids, and especially in those formative years, and something needs to be done about it, but nobody seems to be taking it seriously.
You think about the amount of kids, that we got married in the early 20s. Deb was like 19, and I can't count how many young people that got married at the time we did. They're all divorced, sometimes once or twice. I mean, it's not normal to grow up as a Jehovah's Witness the way you are, where you don't know anything about life. You don't know how to have sex. You don't even know your own body. And then you're married to this cute chick, or she's married to this hot guy. And, it's all fun for 6 months. They destroy people's chance at having, you go through a divorce. That's a scar on your life. I mean, why is it ever even necessary? You're a Jehovah's Witness, for Christ's sakes. It's supposed to be a good, happy life.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witness marriage is Russian roulette. That's what it is. Because you're 19 and you don't know who you're going to get.
And then you think about the women, the sisters in there. Like, I've met so many sisters that have left, and they've had these haywire husbands, elders that are, watching pornography while they're telling other people not to watch pornography, and they're abusing their wife domestically at home, going up on the platform and giving talks. It was just shocking, all this stuff.
For kids, I think it's like, for me, I'm always thinking of the psychology of this whole thing. It's, you're never allowed to figure out who you are, right? Because you are made to be this person. You are this person. You are this one type of man or one type of woman. There is no spectrum there. You have to be this person. And so a lot of us, maybe that's why a lot of us woke up, because we so didn't fit that stereotype that they're trying to put us in, right? And so, but it really fucks with you, because it takes you so long to figure out who you are. And even after you leave, it's like, okay, when you leave, that's not the end of the story. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. Now you get to start to figure out who you are. And that takes a long time.
Yeah, it does. And you got to care about yourself. That's the big thing of recovery is, as a Jehovah's Witness, you're always taught you're a good for nothing slave, everything for Jehovah, the organization. But normal people learn to love themselves, learn to think of, treat yourself, look at you like that little kid when you're 10 years old. You just want to go and give them a hug. say it's going to be okay, kid, you know, and that's the way you got to treat yourself. And I've just slowly been starting to do that. My wife too, we're learning about ourselves, you know, and this is almost 5 years out of this mess, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
it stunts. I've always said that, Ben. That's a good point. Like growing up Jehovah's Witness, it stunts your growth,
Yep,
emotionally,
totally.
socially. I see Jehovah's Witnesses around that I know, you know, that are in their 40s and I've had experiences with, 50s even, and they're like kids in some aspects of life.
Yep.
They've never grown up, and that's why, and like Watchtower does that to them on purpose. That's why they follow these rules. They get excited about little changes where they're allowed to make their own decision, because it's like you're treated like a little kid. That's what you do with your kids when you're like, hey, you get to pick your own food off the menu tonight. And they're like, oh man, that's awesome. I get to pick my own food. That's what they do with Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like, hey, you get to decide whether you wear a tie or not. You can decide whether you shave your face or not, grown 60-year-old man. and they act like, whoa, man, this is great. When really all they're doing is just lifting their knee off their neck a little bit. Like it's terrible.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, we have this video from. Do you want to watch the video, Nash?
Oh yeah, play Larchwood's video.
Should we do that? Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh,
see.
Larchwood.
Hopefully,
We're gonna
We
give
have
all
no
the credit to Larchwood. I screen
this is
screen
Larchwood
recorded
here.
it.
I know they worked hard on it.
Yeah.
Let's check this out. I hope it all works.
I'm gonna mute myself and grab a coffee.
Can you guys give me a thumbs up when it's playing, just so that you can hear it and everything's good?
Mhm.
Okay, here we go.
Remember the information that highlighted.
Turn the volume up if you can. Now it's basically silent. Sorry.
That didn't work. I can't hear anything.
Okay, hold it. I don't know why
Make sure
I
you-
can't hear the.
Sharing
You're
the
hearing
audio.
it. You're hearing it through my
Microphone.
yeah. So let's just give me a thumbs up again here. I'll turn my mic up. Oh,
Remember the information that highlighted Jehovah as
Good enough.
the merciful judge of all the earth?
Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me.
However, that does not mean that a Christian could not invite a disfellowship person to attend a congregation meeting. That disfellowship person could be a relative, a former Bible student, or someone we were close to in the past.
But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me.
Under our current arrangement, we don't say a greeting to individuals who've been removed from the congregation.
It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
The governing body has decided that publishers can use their Bible-trained conscience to decide whether to give a simple greeting and welcome a disfellowship individual who attends a congregation meeting.
Hi, so good to see you here.
Thank you.
I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years.
While we wouldn't have an extended conversation or socialize with such a person, we do not need to ignore him completely.
I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years. I had 2 children now.
May Jehovah bless us as we work to implement these arrangements that reflect his love and mercy.
Thank you.
So I decided to go to the Kingdom Hall for the first time in many years. It made me realize just how far off track I had gotten. I was determined to qualify for reinstatement. Nearly a year later, my reinstatement was announced to the congregation.
Sonia Erickson is reinstated as one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
I was so happy. The brothers and sisters welcomed me very warmly. Being back together again with my family and Jehovah made me feel so good. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I didn't ever want to leave again.
From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is JW Broadcasting.
Gross.
Holy, what pieces of shit, hey? Oh my
I like your
God.
face, Greg.
It affects you. It affects you, man.
I've never actually seen the end of that video where she gets reinstated.
Oh yeah, after a year of going to the meetings and sitting in the back and not talking to everybody and being treated like
After
I
being
didn't
out for
exist.
16 years.
And
Yeah,
her
yeah,
mom
with my two
coming-
kids.
her mom coming, and this is like their first time talking in like a year.
In 16 years.
After this fucking organization announced that everybody can talk to her now her mom comes up and talks to her. What pieces of fucking shit these guys are.
Yeah.
You know?
But hey,
It's-
you can say hello now and invite them to the memorial because Jehovah is so loving and merciful. But that's it. Cut it off there. No socializing.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, it ticks me off because, like, I was disfellowshipped once for smoking pot, and I went to the elders myself. I turned myself in, and so they disfellowshipped me. I said, look, I'm sorry, I want to change, but they disfellowshipped me anyway.
Wow.
It took me a year and a half to get back in. In the meantime, in that year, my sister was killed in a car accident. I had to go to the Jehovah's Witness funeral. Nobody talked to me. It was the most coldest experience of my life. And, you know, this is just one occasion in my life, but this idea now that they talk about it like it's no big deal, and they show the sister, like, it just sends shivers down my spine because I was there. I know what it feels like. You know, I was totally mentally in and put myself through this process. Can you imagine? A year and a half, nobody talking to you, and they finally come to you and say, okay, now you can be a Jehovah's Witness. You still don't have any of your privilege. It's just a terrible experience. And the fact that they treat this now like it's not a big deal, like they don't realize how much mental damage they do to people when they put them through this terrible process. It's got to end.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it hard though on believing Jehovah's Witnesses too? Because Mitch talked about all these people that have been out for a long time, and now they're getting inundated with messages about this amazing change, and it's not an amazing change. You know, getting to say hello, you should come to the meeting of the memorial. That's not okay. That's not love. That isn't family. You know, when I had my family, we didn't invite each other to the meetings. We talked about the hockey game or the weather or work or what our kids were doing, or, you know, that's family. That's love. That's social interaction. That's the thing we crave as human beings. It's not, hello, come to my cult meeting. It's fucking insane. And I hate that they're touting this like it's some great thing, because it's not.
And just think of the kids. Look at the comments in the comment section there. It's the kids. Like my family doesn't talk to my kids. Like if my family watches this, I love my family and I would love to have a relationship with them. But let's just talk the truth here. My family doesn't even know my last daughter. They've never met her. And they've met my last son once. Like, this is
at your
like
mom's funeral?
Yeah. No, my brother's funeral.
Oh, your brother's funeral.
I guess so. It would be twice. But my brother, it was funny. At
Both
my
funerals.
mom's funeral, at my brother's funeral, we all went for dinner. And then when my mom died a year later, my family obviously had I think my brother had a talk with my family and said, listen, there's no associating outside of the funeral. So we had, for my mother's funeral, we all went outside and that was it. Like my family went one way and my, me and my kids went another way. So it was way different. The first time I know somebody had a conversation there and said, listen, we shouldn't have all went for dinner. That was wrong. Greg is evil. We need to not be around this guy. So when my mom died, it was a different story, way different story. So anyway, the kids get
kids are punished. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch that Dutch documentary that came out a couple weeks ago now, but in there, one of the main XJWs, who's a center figure of the documentary, he was talking about when he was a kid and his parents were disfellowshipped. Or sorry, when he was a kid, he had a friend whose parents were disfellowshipped. And this kid rode his bike down to the neighborhood and said, hey, do you want to hang out? And the Jehovah's Witness dad came out and said, no, you have to go home. We can't do anything with you. It's like, it's a freaking kid wanting to play with another kid. And they're punishing them because of these rules about their parents. It's, there are degrees. I think you got to be fair that, I remember times when a disfellowship person had a toddler or a baby that was fussy and someone went up to them and took the baby off so they could pay attention to the meeting or have a break, There could be congregations where that person would have been counseled for doing that too. There's degrees of people's humanity that's allowed to come forth. I also, I've had funerals where it's very weird. It's still a very weird, wrong thing, but funerals where it's almost like the funeral is a pass where we don't shun you for that day. And so you have the meal with us and you talk at the event after the funeral. But then as soon as you walk out that door and that event's over, then we're, back on to shunning. It's super weird. It's not a healthy dynamic that they create for the shunned person or the people doing the shunning. Yeah. It's harmful on everybody.
I've got a bone to pick with this. This might be the thing that upsets me the most about shunning. I made a video about this too. And so we see it in this video. This mom comes in with her 2 kids and they sit there. And likely Jehovah's Witnesses will talk to the kids before and after the meeting in some way, but maybe not a lot. Who knows, right? We've seen this a lot. But this is exactly what's happening in my life in the sense that, except that I don't go to meetings, but my kids witness me being treated this way. In person, they witness it. They see it. They saw it at my mom's funeral. They've seen it on a million occasions, whether it's my ex-in-laws or my own family. They treat me like I don't exist, and if they have to acknowledge I'm there, they treat me poorly, or they look at me judgmentally and angrily, like I'm this wicked, evil apostate. And they don't have to say, Linnea, your dad is a piece of shit apostate. They just have to behave that way. And what is an 8-year-old kid supposed to think? What does their brain think about this? How are they being trained to treat people when it's like, especially when it's their parent that there's, most kids at that age. And I mean, and that's the thing, my kids do love me, but my oldest boys have shunned me because the reality is all they have to do is treat you this way. And they've trained you that when somebody doesn't agree with you, when somebody doesn't follow our rules, you just shut them out. They're fucking dead to us. They're worse than dead because we remember the dead. Fuck that guy unless he comes back. It is the most disgusting way to behave. And the way they normalize it and act like it's okay and that it doesn't do any damage to the kids, it's unforgivable.
And they bastardize it and call it love.
Yeah.
No, it's not love. That's the thing. The big thing with me, a lot of times it started to wake me up, is the way these brothers would talk to you. Like the last run-in I had with them, the last judicial meeting I had before I woke up, I mean, it was over alcohol. And these guys, it's like 1 minute these guys are talking to you like they love you. The elder literally was putting his arm around me saying, oh, don't worry, Brother Rancourt, it's going to be fine. We're going to look at some articles. It'll be good, I get in there and these guys, like, it was the weirdest feeling, like as cold as clams, and just you could tell
they
they
flip-
don't have
flip
your
the
interest
switch.
at heart, you know. And let's face it, most Jehovah's Witnesses that get in trouble, what are they getting in trouble for? It's alcohol, now it's pot, or some kind of immorality, you know. But when it comes to alcohol or abuse like that, like, what do you need? You need help. You need somebody to say to you, okay, we're going to help you. We're going to give you the direction you need to get your life sorted out, get this out of your life. But they instead, what do? They cut you right off, and they try to wreck your marriage. They try to do this and that. It's like the opposite of love, totally.
Elders are not counselors or helpers. They are policemen, right? When you go and confess to an elder, usually the number one thing that's coming, now I'm generalizing here, I'm sure it's not every elder, okay, but they are trained, they've got to find out if a sin was committed and how are we going to deal with this sin. So much of what they do is about that. It's not about helping you. It's not about helping you through this problem that you're having and assisting you. It's about how does this make the congregation look? How does it look from the outside? They're more interested in looks. And how are we going to punish this? Does this person need to be punished or not? This is a trial. These are this is a judicial system. This is not counseling. There's so little of that. I'm sure it does happen a little bit, but it's such a small percentage of what goes on.
Can you put up Maureen's comment there, Greg? The one about this being smoke and mirrors?
Yes.
Maureen Taylor. Right above that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair
behind.
point. Like, what's going to happen in the aftermath of this announcement? How is it actually going to play out in congregations? It'll be interesting to see, but I do think she's right. You know, this is something that they can use. Hey, this is our evidence now. Look, we changed this. We'll say hi to people. They're not completely shunned. You know, it's like that David Nam's famous thing at the Supreme Court in Canada. You know,
normal
Hey,
family
that's what
relation.
they say about a liar, you know. If you're always lying, you start believing your own lies, you get comfortable telling your own lies. And that's the one thing, like, you bring up David Nam, like, when I first heard that waking up, I just could not believe. I didn't hear anything about that as a Jehovah's Witness, and then here it was happening right in my own country. Then when I finally hear what he's saying, I'm like, that's not true. And here we have in Norway, they're just going on the same thing. The amount of lying, it just, to me, they're believing their own bullshit, it seems. Like,
But you know who didn't lie? Who didn't lie was the Jehovah's Witnesses that got up there and testified in Norway.
right.
They got up
I
there
love
and
that.
basically said exactly what the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses said. We shun. Yeah, when you come back, you get reinstated. For some reason, they thought that was going to work. But every Jehovah's Witness knows they shun.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a perfect example of the delineation between Jehovah's Witnesses and Watchtower, the corporation and the people.
And that's who our fight's with, right? That's who our fight's with. It's with Watchtower and the people controlling these doctrines, these rules, and this control over its members. Because Jehovah's Witnesses need to remember that we still care about them. We were one of you. And we're fighting, even though, like we said, this won't change anything for me or or you guys probably. Like, I didn't get a text message to go to the memorial or an invite. My phone has been deadly quiet, and that's because we're apostates. But it's us that are causing these changes, and it's for you guys. It's for you guys that are in there now. It's for the generations coming up after us, and that's why we need to continue.
In a way, like, so the topic of this whole live stream was about what we can still do now, right? We got to keep the pressure on, right? In a way, this might help us because by saying, oh, we can say a greeting to them, they're acknowledging that you can't say a greeting to them at any other time. Just this time at the Kingdom Hall when they come. They didn't say, oh, if you see a disfellowshipped person on the street, you can go up and say hi. Nope. Obviously, it's only at the Kingdom Hall can you have this short interaction. And they admit that do not turn this into a long conversation.
Mhm.
Right? They admit that. So this is in effect another weapon that they have given us that we can use.
Well, and they show them how to do it. Hello, thank you.
Yeah.
Like they gave them the instructions, whether they said it or not. This is how you do it.
And isn't that infuriating when they show the disfellowshipped woman?
Oh,
and
yeah.
how she's like, "Oh, I'm such a horrible person." I remember the day when I went to the Kingdom Hall and I didn't hold my head down. I didn't, the first time where I didn't act like her. And obviously I was well on my way out by then, right? Where I like, fuck that. I'm not going to act like that woman. And that's how they look at the disfellowshipped people. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm such a horrible person. No, you're not. You're not. You're the normal one. You're the normal one. It's the other people that are the fucked up ones.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what they say. They say, that's what they say. Oh, look at what happened to Ben and Debbie since they left Jehovah's Witnesses. They do this, they do that. They try to point out the negative, and even in some cases, if it's negative stuff that does happen to a person after they leave, they don't want to acknowledge the fact, well, you just ruined these people's lives. You treated them like crap. And what do you expect is going to happen? It takes people years to dig themselves out of the gutter sometimes because of the trauma you put them through. This is what I want them to acknowledge. And, so like we're talking about this, like the one thing I was going to mention, like you guys are familiar with Fixing My Faith channel, and he's got that petition that we can all sign. To me, this is something Debbie and I really thought we're getting behind. There's a lot of XJWs out there that are been out. We've talked to, they don't listen to the shows, they're just out. And so we're going to try and bring this petition to their attention, try and get, like if every one of us signs a petition, he's got over 1,000 names right now. If every one
Is
of us,
it a Canadian thing? Is it an American thing?
well, I think it's all over North America, but he's really focusing on Canada, Vern there at Fixing My Faith. And I just thought I'd give
What's the petition about? What's the details about it?
Well, it's signing a petition. If we get enough names to bring attention to the shunning problem in Canada.
Oh, I didn't know about this. I don't follow that. The guy that you talked about there, I don't follow that. So, send that petition out. Send that petition out so we can have a look at it. Put it on your X or Twitter or something or whatever.
Yeah.
There's also Shunning is a Crime is another website that is trying to get momentum of where you can share your story about shunningisacrime.org. Kind of going to be, where you can share your story and, hopefully they'll have some lobbying efforts too to bring attention.
Yeah.
But, I forget who said it. I think it was you, Greg. But, they care about appearance. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses care about. They care about appearance so much. You can be... There are people who are labeled an apostate for pointing out truthful things. That's mostly what all of us did. We shined a light on true practices they do, and they don't like it because it doesn't make them look good. And so part of raising awareness that can affect change is just continue to tell your personal story. I appreciate, there's a lot of XJW content out there, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I've moved past the point where I care about people analyzing a broadcast or a Watchtower article every weekend. What I care about, what I pay attention to is when someone comes and shares their personal story of waking up and what did it for them, and maybe the abuses they suffered. It doesn't have to be a tragic story, but a lot of it is tragic stories. That has an impact. Sharing it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, people see this and take note. Share your story with non-witnesses too, so that they understand that this is what's going on. Because any regular worldly person that you go talk about, hey, what's going on with you? How's your family doing? Oh, I don't know. They don't talk to me. People are shocked by that.
Yeah.
And
that's
still
goes on.
What does our JW family say? I don't know, but they probably just play it off like, oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to him for a little while. When the fact is, they're shunning them. And if they were honest about that, it doesn't make them look good. Continue to tell your story.
My dad says that I ruined his reputation. And the reality is his reputation is ruined because we're from this town, and you know, we run a business here, and everybody knows my family, and everyone that I work with, I also worked with when I was a Jehovah's Witness in my Jehovah's Witness life, and they all know what's going on. They all love my dad, and so first thing they ask is, "How's your dad?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because my dad doesn't talk to me." Then we get into the whole story, and they know the way he treats me, and so now they look at him like, "What the fuck, Bill? What are you doing?" Yeah. And so that's how I've ruined his reputation. It's like,
by
you
telling
did
the
that.
truth.
You did that. I'm not shunning you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's something else.
And that's sorry. I just want, before I forget this thought, that's what Watchtower hates about every level up. You know, your family, your congregation, local people, but the organization as a whole. They hate when ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are telling the truth about what they've gone through in the organization. That's why when they're in court or they're in the media responding to negative reports, they're lying. They are lying about their actual practices because it makes them look like a horrible organization.
Yeah.
And if people continue to understand that, they're either going to... I swear I tweeted this a while ago, but maybe I said it on a YouTube thing. You can't continue to lie to the public and the courts about your beliefs and practices before you have to end up making it the truth. Because even regular Jehovah's Witnesses are going to see what you're saying in the media and say, "Hey, that's not what's happening. Like, why are you downplaying what you tell us is the way that we should behave?" And I think that's what we've seen over the last year or 2 years is, you know, with PID and with these court things, is like, you know, maybe Norway got ahead of them when they were already working on making these changes or something, but they continued to lie. And now we are seeing things start to align with what they've been saying over the past couple of years. And it's little. I don't want to give them credit that they've changed shunning. Like people keep saying in the comments, they're breadcrumbing people, and it's still abusive and manipulative. But yeah, speaking out, telling your stories is going to have the biggest impact, I think, for the greatest amount of people.
I want to pump Mitch's tires on that, and just add and say that. Don't be scared to tell your story. And you may think, because the reality is a lot of us, this stuff happened a long time ago, and I agree with you 100%. I listen to people's personal stories probably the most, and it had the biggest impact.
It's the most powerful. Yep.
It is, for sure. Yep. Don't be scared to tell your story because you may not get everything accurate, or somebody might say, "Oh, that didn't happen," or "This happened a little different." Your story is your experience. That's yours. The way you tell it is how you remember it and how you feel about it. Whether somebody else thought it went differently, that's their story. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to get out there and just tell it. Just tell it. And I mean, you'll grow some thicker skin. It'll be all right.
It's your story. That's the important thing. You know, again, it comes down to, I think it's part of the healing process when you can just lay it all out there. You say, "This is what happened to me. This is my story." Then it's important. Then you can start to heal, put the pieces together, figure out, you know, what's holding me back now. Is it alcohol? Is it this? Whatever the problem. But we got to find a way to treat ourselves with respect and heal from this process where they've treated us like good-for-nothing slaves our whole life. We're not that. We're important. And you make a good point.
So Witness Underground says, how can people tell their story and where? I'll say a couple things about that. It's super easy to upload stuff right now. It's so easy to upload on TikTok. You can tell your story there. You can write it out and put it on Reddit. It's pretty easy to put stuff up on YouTube now. And that being said, you know, anybody that sends us a video about their personal story, this channel is just for XJW, for all XJWs. We don't make any money on this. This is just something we do. So if you sent us your story, we'll post it. You know, we'll post it. You know, as long as
we'll try to do more interviews. I mean, we have people that have reached out to us that want to tell their story, and we honestly just haven't had the time to get to it. It's not like we've forgotten about you, or we just. It is tough. Yeah. But if you do reach out to us, we will try. But like Greg said, you can send us your story too.
You send us a video, however we can get it. We'll upload it.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick. You know,
It's honestly amazing how someone just shows up on YouTube or TikTok and XJW see it because they used a hashtag or whatever, and it kind of catches like wildfire.
Yeah.
And people are excited to see a new person telling their story.
well, these TikTok channels, man, they got a lot of followers. Holy shit!
There's some awesome work going on TikTok. I mean, I know it gets a bad rap sometimes for a good reason, but
Well, the Chinese people are watching. Yeah, so what? The Chinese government's watching XJWs. Yeah, we know that.
yeah.
And the Shun podcast, he
Sean
just
podcast
tells
is great.
he just tells stories. So that's a good
Yeah.
one if you want to email. Just send him a short email, and usually he'll get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sharing memes, videos, quotes. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to use your voice. You can start an anonymous account and start posting on Twitter or Reddit. You know, that's what I did. But
You know,
yeah,
There's something else I wanted to say though. So when the JWs won in Canada in the Supreme Court, they won, even though they lied their face off. They won that case, and they use that. They use that everywhere. They've
they
used
do.
it in my case. They use it in Norway. They use it everywhere. They're like, use it as a weapon. Okay, we need to do that too. Okay, no, this win in Norway is like we have been given a weapon here, and any media people that we come in contact with, we can just point them to that and say, "You don't take my word. Look at that," and that's a first world government that is totally validated everything we are saying here, you know, especially when it comes to human rights abuses and people's freedom of religion, right? So I think that, you know, these activists in Norway have given all of us a weapon that we can use in the media here. I don't know how much success we'll have, but for me, I'm thinking we need to try to get media personalities to, hey, look at this. So this happened in Norway. Maybe our country should look at this. Maybe Australia should look at it. It's obviously happening in the Netherlands, where the Netherlands are like, okay, maybe we should take a look at this. Maybe, you know, it's hard for those in the States. I know I'm not as you know, it's tough there, but maybe Canada will look at it. You know what I mean? So, hey, this is a weapon that we can use.
Yeah.
So
I say,
the U.S., I'm not sure how that's all going down there with this big court, you know, the FBI investigation and all that kind of stuff. But I'm eagerly waiting to see how that plays out, because, you know, these things take time, and they don't seem like they're wasting their time. It seems like they're going after something there. I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years if something big comes out of there that could shake them in the States a little bit, you know?
Well, the U.S. has been good for CSA. Like they're going after that. It's not the shunning as much, but CSA.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean, the Pennsylvania investigation, big high profile cases, if they actually get to court, like what hopefully will happen in Montana later this year, those are going to have a bigger impact than shunning, you know, because the United States religious freedom, they can basically do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
People seem to draw the line at, you know, systematic child abuse, thankfully.
Barely.
That'll
They
get
barely
attention.
draw the line.
Barely. But so what I wanted to comment too, you know, we talked about people telling their personal stories, but media outreach. I mean, I don't know the playbook for it, but I can talk about what I did a couple times is write a really good email. Try to take some emotion out of it, because some people send these emails and they're just ranting about something they heard on Twitter and it's not even confirmed and they're just going off. But if you can present facts, maybe exactly from, you know, so last November, an article got published in the Associated Press and therefore like around the country and the world because of outreach I did to multiple media outlets, and it was an email saying, hey, there's this drastic change in the Jehovah's Witness organization. You guys might be interested in covering it. Here's a couple quotes. Here's the links to the videos. It wasn't public at that point, so, you know, they got copies of videos from like Avoid JW. But, you know, I sent it around to NPR and Seattle Times, New York Times, all these posts. One person replied to me. I found the lead editor for the religious department in Associated Press, and he sent it on to reporters who had talked about Jehovah's Witnesses before. So, you know, don't give up at one. write a really good email and send it to as many different journalists and editors and stuff that you can find, and somebody might pick it up. So I'm curious what Rob's playbook is exactly, but yeah, I think
Yeah, no, I think that is so. I think are we kind of reaching the end of our time here?
Yeah, I reached out. I told Greg this morning. I reached out to a reporter. He actually, when he was still in school for media, he did a documentary on YouTube, and I was in that one. There was me and 3 other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses from Edmonton, and now he works for CTV News, which is a fairly big media outlet in Canada. Basically, we talk. I asked him for some advice. He said, "Send me send me these articles." So he's got a ton of your tweets, Ron. Anyway, I sent him all the Bartland articles and then all the translated ones that you had too. I attached those. So a couple days went by and he read them all, and he messaged me late last night. He said, "When can we meet in person?" So
yeah, we haven't had a big English news outlets coverage of what's happened in Norway yet. I'm kind of surprised.
Let's
it seemed like PID got
like that going.
Yeah, PID seemed to have gotten, the religious news service to cover it in the middle of the trial, and it was very, biased towards the Jehovah's Witness side of things. But now that the results are in, it'd be nice to see some good coverage of it. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He also said if we ever have any demonstrations going on, he would cover them, no problem, on the news.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if any Canadians are out there. I'm in Alberta, central Alberta. But wherever, if you let me know, maybe we can get that kind of stuff, covered at least.
There's so Apostate Barbie's going to be on another live with XJW Caleb in just over an hour. Hope everybody can tune into that. All right. You know what? Let's do this. Wait, can we? I was hoping we could.
Oh yeah, and Witness Underground has some premieres going on this in Memphis. That's this weekend, I think. I forgot. I was going to mention that. I think he put it in the comments. He put it way up earlier.
Memphis folks here. We have an XJW
there we go.
Concert and film premiere tonight at Mid-Southcon, midnight movie and performance. Why can't that stuff happen near my hometown? That would be cool.
We don't get that here.
Yeah, no. If you're in Memphis and you're in XJW, you better go to that. You better send me a video. Yes, tonight.
I think a good XJW that can be a comedian, he'd make a fortune right now. You got so much material, you could just make a killing.
Yeah. Oh, all right, everybody. Well, hey, Debbie, thanks for coming in and showing your face.
Yeah, thanks, Deb.
Let's give everybody a last word here. I'll start. There's been some changes, but I think it should just motivate us to keep the foot on these guys and get them to do some real change. I'm hoping that in my lifetime, shunning will be just a rarely used thing. I hope that I get to see that. I don't think it's going to change my family's relationship, but I really hope that before I leave this planet, we see the shunning looks very different. And this is motivating me to go in harder. And so I'll leave it at that. Ron?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. This really doesn't change anything for so many of us, and in reality, it continues to show the harm Watchtower's doing to people, the disregard for people's mental health, the disregard for those we've lost due to suicide from shunning. So yeah, it's tragic, and this weekend's heavy for a lot of people because it's the memorial tomorrow. So take care of yourselves. Look out for each other. I feel for a lot of people who are hurting. I'm not hurting so much myself, but I hurt for when I see other friends hurting. So it's a heavy weekend, and what they did last weekend kind of amplifies it for a lot of people. So I'm sorry if you're one of those.
Yeah.
Well said, brother.
Yeah, it's I agree 100%. This is it's a tough time of year. Memorial is always a tough time of year. For me personally, it's a bad time of year because it always falls around the anniversary of my brother's suicide. Now my mom's death is shortly after. So, you know, like, and this, I don't know, and it's a crappy time of year, especially in Alberta. But so, you know, that's the thing. I think Mitch made a great point. Look after yourself, and don't feel bad for feeling bad.
Yeah,
It's okay. It's okay. You know, that's those feelings. Those are from your old life. Yes, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop feeling them or that you're a failure for feeling them. You get to be sad and you get to be upset and you get to be hurt. And I mean, we wish we could take it all away, but we can't. And so, you know, just reach out though. Don't stick to yourself when you feel like that. Reach out to somebody because we're all busy, but we'll try and be there. Somebody will try and be there, and there's always somebody. Don't stop at just one person. Keep going and talk to somebody if you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
You got it. Damn right. Ben, you got the last word.
Yeah, well, I got to reiterate a lot of what you guys are saying. I appreciate Ron there or Mitch, your comments. I'm going to think a lot about what you said. It's important that we think about ways that we can step up and reach out, make it meaningful. We were all in the ministry school. We were taught how to do this. We can put a few things together and make it count. But again, you know, for myself, I appreciate all you guys being around. You know, there's been so many that have helped us over the years. Like, I don't know what we would have done without some of you. So take care of yourself. That's the most important thing. You know, like Jehovah's Witnesses, again, they always put you down, but thinking number one, think about how you can make your life better for you because you mean something. We all matter.
All right, everybody watching, thanks for showing up. We'll see you again at another time. Hey, all you four, don't leave yet. Hey, just stay. Everybody live stream. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Everybody.
Bye.